Hey everyone, today we're going to dive into the insane art style of Hazbin Hotel and the art direction that it took to make the show. Now, I'm going to try to go over literally everything I can and talk as fast as I possibly can because I know this is going to take a long time. Now, even if you've seen a second of the show, you know that it's not like anything else out there. It's loud, it's bold, and it's like totally unique, at least in my eyes. So let's get to it. Now, Hazbin Hotel comes from the mind of Vivian Medrano, also known as Vizzy Pop. She's got a knack for like that little creepy and cute, and this is like her ultimate playground. And hell might sound like a dark and dreary place for some, but here it's full of colors, crazy character designs, and so much personality, but a lot of people have some issues with that, and I'm going to go over it here. Well, I'm going to go over all of that here. Now, to me, I feel like each character is a walking work of art, and there's a reason why some of this stuff just sticks to you. But what makes the art style so unforgettable? And that's what we're going to unpack here a little bit. And why I think that the art direction is more than just one thing. With the art direction in the Hazbin Hotel universe goes much deeper than I'm used to with other series. So let's get comfy because we're going to be here for a minute. Now, I want to talk about what inspired like this look. So this is for Vizzy Pop talks on various sites on all of the influences in her media. She's a little bit like me to the extent where it comes to that Disney Renaissance, Batman the Animated Series, Invader Zim, Looney Tunes show, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, The Adventures of Billy and Mandy, BoJack Horseman, Night Before Christmas, Broadway music. She also likes to lean towards darker, more mature content at the same time, so more mature stories are her style. She said that watching BoJack Horseman first taught her that you can have a deep and meaningful adult animation, even if it's just a cartoon. I think that's why a lot of people prefer anime personally, is because a lot of it tackle mature topics and harder topics, compared to the lot of raunchier Western stuff that people tend to watch like Rick and Morty. It's also based on her enjoyment of the Greek mythos, demonology, biblical sources, because anything can be a fandom, right? And as far as her art influences, you can kind of see the Invader Zim, Garfield, Bruce, Tim, and a little bit of the Looney Tunes with the fluidity of Disney. And a lot of the art direction, specifically with her and her styles, is more about the meaning in the character and do they fit in the scenario in which they live in. Because it's not just about like for example, in my art direction video where I talk about Silent Hill, those characters could have come from anywhere, but it's about certain aspects of the character that make them who they are versus them being from Silent Hill. Now, this is going to be the lengthier part of the video, the character design. Now, as for character design, we're going to go over the main cast, some of the villains, and a few of the angels. But for now, I'd like you to keep your mind open a little bit. While not headcanon, I do believe that every character is based on one of the sins, of virtue, or otherwise. Now we're going to start with Charlie first. Charlie's design reflects perfectly with a business owner and her role as Hell's princess. Her tall, slender figure and white skin contrast sharply with Hell's darker tones, symbolizing her desire to bring positivity to a place defined by sin. When you see Charlie, she has this mix between Ariel and Jasmine. Both are Disney princesses to keep that theme. In fact, the Happy Day in Hell song is kind of like Bonjour from Beauty and the Beast. Her hair, in this sense, can be kind of like a representation of her aspirations to maintain order even in a chaotic environment. Her eyes are particularly symbolic, and the light yellow backing and the red pupils. The yellow part, signifies a sense of hope and enlightenment, and the red pupils hint at an underlying danger and responsibilities that she carries from being Lucifer's daughter. And she features red cheeks, black lips, gray eyelids that give purchase to the vaudeville-style marionette dolls that tie like her entire lineage back to her father. Everything about her kind of reflects that she's a leader, especially with the red symbolizing her dominant and royal status. But you'll find out that even though so many characters have red in this series, the reds mean different things for different characters. And she has a heart motif, and the attire further emphasize her empathy and love, highlighting a sincere desire to bring positivity to a place dominated by complete darkness. And I just kind of noticed this when I was writing this out, but she has like small butterfly shapes. I know that they're heart shapes as well, but her eyes are almost butterfly-like. And it's kind of like a design symbol for transformation and a potential for change, aligning with her mission to rehabilitate sinners. But this is more like my opinion. Additionally, she has like a puppy-like nose that connects her with innocence and purity, contrasting the more sinister aspects of her lineage. In my opinion, she's like a sin of pride because she's Lucifer's daughter. She's so wrapped up in her dream that she won't see how unrealistic it is. Lucifer's design starts with a color palette of white, gold, and red to reflect his divine and infernal aspects, and a ringmaster's flair emphasizing his control over hell's chaotic realm. The dominance of the white in his color scheme symbolizes the fallen angel origins, contrasting with the red that represents power, passion, and sin. Gold highlights to reflect his royal status, reinforcing his identity of the supreme ruler of this twisted circus. Symbolism is deeply embedded in Lucifer's design. His ringmaster leg attire not only emphasizes that he is in control, but also that he has authority of hell, but that also connects him to this like theatrical manipulation too. This is further underscored by the puppet-like features on his cheeks, which symbolize his ability to manipulate events to his liking in his own grand design. The top hat and bow enhance his refined theatrical persona, suggesting that Lucifer views his rule as a performance, where maintaining a certain image is crucial to his control. Subtle motifs such as the apple and snake, I really thought that was such a smart design choice, are integrated into his design, referencing the original sin and his biblical origins. These symbols reinforce his identity as the ultimate guy in hell, the embodiment of sin, adding layers and depth to his character. The combinations, it all leads back to the stark reminder of his dual nature, once being a divine being and now the ruler of a corrupted realm. Lucifer's design also visually represents the sin of pride. He has like a regal, authoritative appearance that emphasizes his immense pride over his dominion of hell, while the sharpness of his features and the intensity of the red and gold color scheme kind of hint at an underlying wrath that he can unleash whenever his authority is challenged, and he does do that. I also saw this on Reddit and I thought it was very interesting, so I decided to input this because I didn't actually know this. He is also the white-faced clown, the leader of the circus, and the origin of the sad clown trope, one who laughs outside but is deeply depressed inside. Maggie's design is a powerful blend of like moth symbolism and emotional pain, reflecting her tumultuous past and resilient nature. Her outfit symbolizes her demonic transformation and the delicate beauty of moth, representing her struggles and fleeting nature of her previous self. Her grayish-white hair with faded purple tips mirrors the ethereal and transient quality of like moths, indicating that she was going through something and there's remnants of her past still lingering. Her attire also features a red blouse and a black Peter Pan collar, combined with formal and distinctive elements. This blend symbolizes her defiance and merging of her past and present identities. The red hair bow with the tear on one side represents that she's missing a part of herself. And it's kind of like, because her eye represents her past lost in pain. The slate gray eye patch with the glowing red pink X highlights her emotional trauma and her struggle with her own demons. Also, I like that part of her face was hidden, because when a person hides their face, even if it's with their hair, they're trying to hide something from you. So even tiny things like that are appealing to a character. So like if you want another example, Violet from The Incredibles, she was very reserved, and she was so reserved that she had hair on her face. Donna Benevito from Resident Evil 8, she was covered so you couldn't see her face, so she had things inside that, that she didn't want to let out. Now previously, Vaggie also had a more angelic appearance, with a halo and feathered wings, which symbolized purity and her role as an exorcist. The loss of these elements and subsequent regrowth of her wings with a gray gradient reflected her transition from angel figure to a more complex defiant figure, marking her resilience and growth. because she struggles with her anger also. I personally believe that because she struggles with anger at herself and those around her, she comes off to me as the sin of wrath. Alistair's design is kind of like a blend of the 1930s and the 1920s, evoking that old-time radio which ties to his broadcast influence across Hell. The vintage radio and his voice shows that even if it's not connected, he is connected to his powers and can use them at will. It seems like he only uses the cane for fun more than a necessity. Now, his color scheme is red and black like so many other characters in Hell, but here is an example of where it means a violent and a sadistic nature instead of passion, because color palettes for these characters are used in context with their personal shape language and history. Red for Charlie is passionate and royalty, but for Alistair it means blood and danger, and the black is signifying his mystery of his character that touches on just a slight little gothic representation with the monocle and the black cross on his chest. The deer elements in his design, such like the deer antlers and the ears that appear when he's using his powers and when he doesn't, symbolize like a connection to nature, specifically the idea of being the hunter and the hunted. It's kind of like a duality. He appears very unassuming in appearance and a nice guy, but beneath that, he has a severity that can be turned on and off in a flash. The fact that they made him a deer was to make his imagery very docile and over time more threatening. It kind of reminds me of like a Tim Burton transformation sequence, or even like Madoka Magica, the witches. I don't know if you guys seen that, but they have the witches, and the witches in Madoka emphasize like the design based on what is hurting the person, and that's where the design comes from. So I feel like it's a little bit maybe like that for how characters are designed in Hazbin Hotel's universe. So like everything in his former life attributes to what his Hell life looks like. Everything in his human life perpetuates what his appearance will be like and his magic will be like in Hell. Now when he changes over to his full demon form, he gets a lot of extra horns and limbs, and his eyes turn into a little radio dial, amplifying his like monstrosity of a person that he is. And his microphone cane kind of gives purchase to his control over sound and his role as a manipulative entertainer. This is why I kind of believe that he is a sin of pride. I could say greed, but it just doesn't sit right with me, and neither does gluttony, because he kind of gets extreme satisfaction from doing prideful actions. Because you can see that when he's singing with Lucifer. Like he really enjoys calling Charlie like a daughter of his. He enjoys that because it gets under Lucifer's skin. I would bet that he would even continue doing that just because he knows it makes Lucifer mad. Angel Dust's character is probably my second favorite design because it's crafted to reflect his personality with themes of lust, self-hatred, yearning for love reciprocated. His design is a visual representation of the duality within him, the glamorous facade of a confident, flamboyant adult film star, and the underlying vulnerability, someone that's deeply troubled with his past and present. As a tall, slender demon with pale pink fur, he immediately stands out with his effeminate and almost glamorous appearance, fixed of like a burlesque show. His model build is probably designed this way because that way he seems more like arm candy to Valentino, and it's pretty well known that models tend to be with rich people. It made sense for Angel. The pink color palette that Angel Dust has symbolizes the softness and the toxicity within his character. Pink is often associated with femininity and sweetness, yet here it is taking on more of a cynical tone, representing the commodification of his body and the way that he uses his appearance to mask his deeper emotions. The heart shapes on his chest and attire, as well as the feminine touches like his soft flowing fur, emphasize that his craving for love and affection, a longing that is constantly unmet due to his profession and lifestyle. The pink is also like a need for love and desire. The white is usually used for innocence, but it's more that he uses these things to let people be unassuming of him. I also thought it was interesting that he had a light pink heart on the back of his head, and on his chest was a heart-shaped outline to symbolize vulnerability and a deep craving for love, reflected in his desire for validation and affection, as well as his internal conflict for self-worth, because if you noticed, the heart on his chest is just an outline. It's empty. It's not full. I would assume if he had a heaven version, that would definitely fill in that outline there. And from what I read, he was inspired by the jumping spider. He embodies agility and cunning, and he's always ready to pounce on new opportunities, but this also highlights his transient and unsteady nature of his existence. The spider motif also kind of ties into the themes of entrapment and exploitation, as spiders often symbolize webs of deceit and inescapable traps laid by life. His former life may be coming to get him sooner rather than later. I already said it, but to be clear, I think that he is the sin of lust. Now, I don't know about you, but Husk was my favorite design of the entire show. There were so many characters, but this one is actually what made me want to make this video to begin with. Husk's character design embodies like his role as a gambler and a caretaker. Using the rich blend of like magic and casino inspired elements, he has a dark taupe fur with white accents suggesting sophistication and elegance, while his avian cat features highlight, agility and grace. Now he has these like kind of playful features like the big feather eyebrows with those small little hearts. It's just, they're not decorative, but they kind of symbolize his gambling prowess and charismatic nature. It makes sense for this character because he is deeply immersed in the world of chance. I did think it was interesting that he had the card suits on his body. These design elements are his connection to the gambling world, where the hearts represent one of the 4 suits in the deck of cards, and he also has these on his paw pads, which it's almost kind of like, it shows that he cares, because if you think about like Care Bears, I believe that Care Bears had hearts on their hands, or some of them did. I don't know, I could be wrong. But when you open your hand to somebody and they have a heart on their hand, it's almost like, here, I can take care of you. It shows that he has like a benevolent side. It does kind of contrast with his ability to offer support and comfort amidst his high-stake life. I noticed that they removed the other suits of cards that were on the inside of the wings, leaving them for his umbrella instead, which I understand, but I think I preferred the inside of the wings part. Now, his tail like kind of goes out into like vivid red plumes with black and white stripes, kind of like the roulette wheel, furthering tying him to his gambling theme. And it kind of shows that he has a symbol of showmanship that come with the casino games. I feel like, oh my god, the roulette wheel was so smart of a choice to make his wings and part of his outfit, because it just enhanced. When I look at him, I know what's wrong with him immediately. And I think that's kind of what they were trying to go for with this show, or what Vizipop's designs are for. Some people say they're too complicated and they don't make sense, but they do make sense in the context of hell, because what you did in your former life affects what you look like in your afterlife. And in your afterlife, if you were a person who did gambling and did all these terrible things, when you go to hell, you're going to look like what you did in your real life. It makes sense to me. He also has like that little black top hat with the red band and the red bow tie. Overall, he looks like a card dealer, like a blackjack dealer. But I think there was supposed to be a little bit of magician put into that look. The minimalist of his outfit reinforces his professionalism and confidence, blending the elegance with that practicality to his caretaker but gambler-like design. It portrays a character who is both a manipulator of chance and a supportive figure, balancing out the excitement of gambling with the genuine empathy and professionalism, which at the end made him a really great bartender. I think that he's just my favorite character. I don't know why I like him so much, but I feel that as for his sin, I believe that he is the sin of greed. He could be sloth as well because he's an alcoholic, but greed just feels right to me because he needs to gamble, needs to collect more, get more, which screwed him in the end. But I think in the heaven version of him, I think that those hearts would turn to diamonds, and he would definitely have more straight lines. Now, Serpentius is actually a pretty interesting character. He's deeply woven with the sin of envy, and some people say that maybe it's not envy, and maybe say that it's greed or pride, but I disagree with that, because he has a constant longing for power and recognition. He's a snake demon with a Victorian-era aesthetic, sitting in between steampunk and mad scientist. He's dressed with exaggeration, unlike Husk, with long coattails and a top hat and a gold snake emblem. His color palette is dominated by black, red, and gold. These colors are often associated with danger, power, and cowardice, which kind of align with his character traits. That Victorian-era design, mixed with the steampunk elements, highlights Serpentius' obsession with technology and power. His character can be seen as a parody of a mad scientist trope. Always scheming and inventing, he's almost like a Wile E. Coyote type, trying to elevate his status in hell by chasing around Alistair. The top hat and monocle kind of give him an air of outdated aristocracy, which ties into his envy-driven desire for respect and recognition. These accessories also add to his kind of comedic villain persona, as they're exaggerated and somewhat out of place, emphasizing his outdated and ineffective schemes, also going after those who would be close to his time, also known as Alistair. Because if you look at the way the Vees treat him like he is not important. Now, as a snake demon, his design plays heavily on serpent symbolism, which often presents cunning and deceit and a lurking threat. The snake also symbolizes rebirth and transformation, but in Serpentius' case, it reflects his relentless pursuit of power and his twisted ambitions, but at the end of the series, it does provide the transformation and rebirth. We should have seen it coming from far away, to be honest. He was the only snake around. On his old design, on his current hell design, he has red open eyes on his design, and it also looks more like a cobra, right? Because he has the hood. But when he turned to his heaven version, the eyes are closed, and he has a heart on the back of his head instead, and a few heart motifs that in his death was out of love for others. His cobra hood turned into what I interpreted as wings. Everything is softer, even his color palette for heaven. He achieved an accomplishment, elegance and divinity in heaven. After his noble sacrifice, he went from the sin of envy to the virtue of charity. I think this is going to be a common theme in Hazbin Hotel, that characters who live a specific deadly sin must become the virtue to move to heaven. Now, I'm going to go over the Vees and the angels, but I'm not going to go into depth like I did with the other ones, because honestly, there's just so many good character designs. I can't do it all, okay? I can't do it all. Now, I really liked Vox. I thought he was just a really cool idea. Everything about him just says manipulator. His tech-savvy demon deeply connected with media and entertainment. His television head with the static and the glitchy screen. And the little hypnotist thing, along with his pixelated voice, emphasizes that he's tied to digital media, suggesting an unstable or corrupt personality. His black, red, and blue color palette, combined with his sharpness for attire, invokes a media Mongol power and authority, inspired by electronic music like Skrillex and Knife Party. Vox kind of embodies this fast-paced, edgy, potentially dangerous allure of modern digital media. I did also find it very interesting that part of his character design was that he could never be depicted from the side, because you can't actually see his face in that angle. Now, Velvet's character design is intricate because it ties themes of predation, manipulation, and fashion. Her vulture-inspired design highlights her role as a culture vulture, preying on trends and people alike. The deep reds and purple in her color scheme convey a sense of danger and allure, while the hearts on her breast and jacket symbolize her twisted connection to love and manipulation, particularly with her creation of the love potion. Her voluminous hair is trendy and fashionable, so it goes with her, fashion designer theme, representing her obsession with aesthetics and control. Velvet's appearance comes across as a calculated charm and a thematic, rich character, despite her short time on screen. Now we're going to talk about Valentino. He's kind of like opposite Angel in a way. He has themes of lust, exploitation, and deception through a meticulously crafted aesthetic. He has his color scheme of red, black, white, mixed with that purple, says that his role is powerful and corrupted, and symbolizes his manipulation and control over others. The purple is what says that he wants to be more than what he is, or he perceives himself being better. His heart-shaped rose-colored glasses initially kind of present a charming, and alluring facade, but upon closer inspection, they reveal a sinister glare, exposing his true, terrible nature. The contrast between the appearance and the reality highlights his deceptive personality, because when you see him, of course they also made him a Latino, so it comes across as like Latino lover mixed with gangster, and that's how he treats everyone around him. I thought it was an interesting little tidbit that his wings are integrated with his coat, featuring like a little zebra pattern, and the moth-like elements emphasize that he's parasitic in nature instead of like a delicate softness that Vaggie had, suggesting that his tendency is to just exploit others for his own gain. And for the angels, as a quick overview, wings matter here. They tell the role of the character by their design and their colors. Seraphim's design reflects divine purity and a celestial authority through a distinct color pattern and detailed features. In her humanoid form, Seraphim has like silver and periwinkle hair and a medium gray skin with white freckles, symbolizing her serene elegance and balance between earthly and divine realms. In her angelic form, she kind of has the same color palette. She gets a beak kind of instead, and with her previous version the eyes are closed, but in her angelic version the eyes on her outfit are open. And I'm wondering kind of what is the lead up behind with the eyes thing. Like, does it mean something when the eyes are open or eyes are closed? There has to be something with that. Emily's design, her own divine nature, through carefully chosen color palette and symbolic elements. The use of like the light blue and white conveys serenity and purity, essential traits for a celestial being. Lavender adds the layer of mystical elegance, suggesting a connection to the divine realm, and the gray skin grounds her appearance, bridging the gap between heavenly and mortal. In her humanoid form, the eyes closed kind of represent hidden depths and introspection, while her gradient hair signifies a seamless blend between her earthly. The subtle gradient effect of her hair emphasizes an ethereal presence and her role as a divine figure. In her angelic form, she is more otherworldly, but that's marked by the appearance of multiple eyes and expanded wings on her head. This shift enhances her divine authority and symbolizes her all-seeing, omnipresent nature. And the last angel I'm covering is Adam. Now, Adam is depicted as a fair-skinned angel with golden yellow eyes and a stubbly beard, presents a blend of celestial elegance and human flaws. His gold wings and halo symbolize his high rank and divine authority, contrasting sharply with his less virtuous nature. The gold spikes on his halo and the golden ornament horns on his mask kind of highlight this grandiose self-image and pride. So he might have been a pride demon if he just died in sin. Adam's white and gold cloth emblazoned with a prominent A reinforces his authoritative status, while it also says that his vanity and self-importance is part of him. Despite his angelic appearance, Adam reveals his lack of inner turmoil and enjoyment in being a jerk, emphasizing his role as a fallen figure who relishes in his flaws and corrupt nature. When it's revealed that he has a very human face, it grounds him almost immediately to being the first man that he so broadly flaunts about throughout the series. I really tried my best with this segment. It was really hard. I had a friend helping me with it who knows more about it, and who knows more than I do. Now we're going to talk about the environmental design. Now there's loads of places in both heaven and hell, but it's better for me to go over what I think are the important elements. Heaven is predominantly light and ethereal colors like white, gold, soft pastels, and a few muted tones. These colors symbolize purity, divinity, and a heavenly nature of the realm. It's almost like a modified Art Deco, which is usually used to increase an orderly look with straight lines, repeating patterns, and geometric ornamentation. But it has that tiny bit of retrofuturism because there's so many sharp and pointed edges. It has a little bit of like the Jetsons in it. It does lead into the idea that heaven is not what it seemed to be, which is kind of an interesting direction, but part of me feels that they should have had more rounded or squared off some of these buildings instead of leaning in towards retrofuturism, because it's supposed to come off as a utopia. And because it's heaven, it's supposed to make you feel protected. But with all the eyes everywhere, it doesn't feel protective. It feels like you're only good until you do something bad. Because the seeing eye is kind of like a contrast of the consistent judgment of the righteous divine power in heaven. They kept this direction with all the characters, and that's why I think that when we see Serpentius move from heaven to hell, his motif changes entirely. But he gained a few more elements that fit, like the seeing eye, the hearts, the pastel colors, and a more orderly design. You can tell right away that he's a citizen of heaven and not an angel, but possibly because we don't have a season 2 yet. For now, we'll just have to assume that he's a normal citizen of heaven because his halo is normal. That's why the art direction and design is so unique for Hazbin Hotel, because it's just a small shift in something and you immediately know who's important, what happened, and where they belong. And I don't know if you guys watched Arcane, but it does a similar thing with character designs versus city design. Here's an example. Despite Vi working for Piltover, she remains with her original designs that designate her as someone who lived in Zaun. Same with Jinx, who leans into the Zaun look that fits with the Art Nouveau. Now, Hell is a weird creature in itself, which is why it lent itself to the 7 deadly sins, each of which I think every character has one in Hell. There's no doubt about it in my mind that some of the inspiration of Hell came from various media: Cool World from 1992, Invader Zim, the cyberpunk genre, Beetlejuice's Afterlife, and many of Tim Burton's flavorings all around. I know some of you might not know about Cool World, but it takes place in an alternate dimension and mixes cartoons that appear almost like little demons compared to regular characters, and some of the art here could easily be featured of Hazbin Hotel universe, and I'd 100% buy it. Now, while I haven't watched Hall of a Boss yet, I had to go look into locations to see if I could find themes that belong to Hell specifically across the board. It had to be a contrast to everything Heaven stands for, so of course it leaned into Art Nouveau. It focused on a lot of like flowing lines and ornate detailed patterns, having small twists and almost appearing some kind of romanticism of living in hell, as it's known for its sinful behavior. And sin is almost always beautiful. You can see tall, spiky, foreboding structures similar to mixing Tim Burton and Cool World's aesthetic together, but it amplifies it with like a little bit of gothic elements, as if it's moving around to surround you all the time. Like it's like you put your hands together to make a heart but not go all the way around. It feels like that kind of. You can definitely see the Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas stuff in Hell, with how the windows seem to be shaped around the buildings where they're not completely even and they kind of go in different directions, leading to this chaotic space. I mean, can you imagine if all your windows were being different sizes? That'd be crazy. It kind of sits in this gothic, wacky, Victorian, artsy, over-detailed, and gaudy. Hell also has both Americana and cyberpunk features. I feel like some people might disagree with me here, but just hear me out. Hell has some minor retro-futuristic signs that show strong geometric shapes, some straight lines like the V Tower, and I think this mix was done on purpose to give you a sense that every location belongs to some demon overlord or has something imbued with its design, but it always sits well to the Americana distinction with the bright neon signs, the billboards, commercialism, and that makes it feel like it's meant for most people to never make it to heaven, because hell is too much like home. These Americana designs kind of lean into cyberpunk, because cyberpunk is supposed to be a dystopian, towering skyscrapers, urban decay, and forever neon glow, because you can see tech being used to even control people, and hell is featured as a place of vice and excess. The smallest thing I noticed was that like the carnival motif has colorful imagery that belongs to the Art Nouveau style. I've seen carousel horses, circus, tents, vaudeville being a prominent design in almost every space of hell. Vizzypop said, quoted, that she based the sins on circus acts. The allegory of the circus symbolism is created as an exploitation in capitalism that runs rampant over hell, much like our own world. We all dance like clowns for money. So in closing, this is going off script because I decided I wasn't going to have one for this part, but people complain about her character designs because they're too complicated, but they're complicated for a reason. When a character is from heaven, you know immediately they're from heaven, and when they're from hell, you know they're from hell. And everything about their character is written in that environmental design. There's so much deeper hidden meaning in Vizipop's ideas on art direction that it's just, she took care, and it shows that she took care when she was creating this world. And the thing is like, this is not my favorite series, but I think it's such a unique series. It's so interesting the way the characters were created and that they had former lives, and those former lives perpetuate what they look like in the afterlife. I just think that is really an interesting idea. I could go on and on about all the characters' designs, and the environmental designs too. But overall, it's just really cool. I know some of you guys are going to complain about the silhouettes, but it's deeper than the silhouettes. It's who the character is as a person, you know? It's a little bit, it's more. Anyways, this has been a very long video, and I hope you guys liked it. Please subscribe. If any of you have stayed this long, please tell me your opinion of this video. And if art direction is something that you're interested in, me doing more of this, please check out my Silent Hill one. I was also thinking about doing videos on environmental design, like just that only, because I have a degree in environmental biology. So have a good day, my friends, and I'll see you next time.